Okay. So thank you for attending our webinar, everyone. We're holding this as part of our engagement on the City Plan 2041 Key Issues stage. And this webinar is specifically looking at the topics of economy, culture and tourism. My name is Claire Flowers and I work in the planning policy team. And I'll be running through our first few introductory slides. I'll then pass over to Helen Gregory, who will cover the rest of the presentation. So first of all, housekeeping. This webinar will be recorded and we're going to post it on the Council's YouTube channel. And the link, it will be posted in the chat. So please keep the microphones and cameras actually will remain off during this webinar. So please use the Q&A to ask questions. And if we can't answer questions individually, we'll answer common themes in the Q&A. Thank you very much. If you have any, so for example, if you have any technical questions, or for example, you can't hear the presentation, please post that in the Q&A too, and we'll answer those questions as we go along. So please remember that you do need to respond formally via the consultation portal, and that's on the Council's Your Voice consultation portal. And there's also a link posted in the chat to this. And finally, please be mindful of what you put in the Q&A, and we will have to remove any abusive content. Next slide. So the city plan, it's a statutory document. It's part of a legal process and we must meet the test of soundness. And the test of soundness, we need to have our policies positively prepared to meet our needs. Our policies need to be justified and evidence-based. We need to have effective and deliverable policies. And finally, we need our policies to be in conformity with national policy in the National Planning Policy Framework, the NPPF. Next slide. So what is in the city plan? Our city plan identifies housing and commercial space requirements. It also supports high quality and well-designed places within our public realms and our buildings. The city plan encourages the conservation and enhancement of the city's environment, biodiversity, and also our important heritage assets. The city plan ensures new development is sustainable, and it also ensures that necessary infrastructure supports new development. And the city plan covers the whole city, apart from those parts that fall within the South Downs National Park area. Next slide. So the current city plan, so we have two parts to our current city plan. We've got City Plan Part 1, which was published in 2016, and City Plan Part 2. So the focus of this review is on the City Plan Part 1. City Plan Part 1 sets out our strategic policies and our site allocations. We need to update this to ensure it reflects all the changed circumstances since 2016, as well as the new council plan. So with regard to the policies in the City Plan Part 2, these are detailed development management policies and they are up to date. Obviously, if some become out of date before the time we move on to through our consultation process, those will also be, some of those may be changed. But the main focus is on the City Plan Part 1. Thank you. So, key issues. This is the first stage in producing the City Plan 2041. And we've set out the key issues that we think the City Plan should address. So we really want your views on these, and whether there are other issues we also need to consider that aren't in the key issues consultation paper. And also, as we can see, there will be future public engagement as we prepare the draft plan and before the plan is formally submitted for examination. So at the moment, we're in our key issues consultation. And around this time next year, we'll be looking towards our consultation for our draft plan. And then we're looking to spring summer of 2026 for our proposed submission consultation plan. And we're hoping to submit that to government in winter 2026 and hopefully adoption autumn 2027. So the last slide that I'm going to talk through is the key issues are consultation topic areas. So the various topic areas, we've got 9 topic areas. So we've got spatial strategy, the topic area of sustainability and climate change. We're also consulting around homes for everyone, design and placemaking, culture and tourism, which is what the focus of today's webinar is. The other topics are healthy city and communities, transport and infrastructure, thriving and diverse economy, and finally biodiversity and green infrastructure. Anyway, I will now hand over to Helen. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. So as Claire said, the focus of today's webinar is on the economy, culture and tourism. So the city is performing well. The economy is worth 9.5 billion and its gross value added increased by 16% between 2016 and 2021. And we know that the city's economy is forecast to grow, with jobs in the office and industrial sectors of the city's economy forecast to grow by 8% over the planned period to 2041. However, the council recognises the challenges the city faces. The city is becoming an increasingly unaffordable place to live. Fewer businesses are scaling up, and the availability and quality of commercial space remains a persistent barrier for businesses seeking to grow. Certain places and communities within the city are disproportionately impacted by the wider cost of living challenges. And creative workspace and live music venues are under pressure. The council's recently published economic plan provides the foundation for how the council and its partners will engage to support, diversify, adapt and grow the economy. The city plan can help support the council's economic plan by making sure there is the right kind of employment space for local businesses to scale up and to attract new investment, by recognising the role of our neighbourhoods as vital hubs for our local shops, services and businesses, if you like, the everyday economy, and by supporting business transition to net zero, as well as through planning policies to support and protect culture, leisure and tourism. We commissioned an employment land study, which is available with the consultation documents on the consultation portal. And this study looked at the current supply of office, industrial and warehouse space in the city, vacancy rates, commercial market activity, and also it forecasts the amount and type of employment floor space which will be needed over the planned period to support the job growth in the city. For office floor space, the study found that office space is mainly concentrated in central Brighton. Demand is there for high quality, energy efficient spaces with better facilities, but that we have an ageing stock of offices, and much of the growth and vacancy in the last couple of years is from secondary, poorer quality office accommodation. Whilst future use is uncertain, as businesses come to the end of their lease terms and reassess their needs, there is evidence that they want less space but higher quality. There is a forecast requirement for additional office floor space over the planned period of around 87,000 square metres. Whilst this can largely be met from sites with extant planning permission or remaining city plan site allocations, we need to ensure that these sites do come forward and provide the right kind of office space. Given the evidence, we need to continue to protect offices, particularly in central Brighton, on our strategic sites and in our town, district and local centres, because the important role they provide in terms of providing choice and affordability. Older offices are less attractive to business and will soon be unlettable if they do not meet the new energy efficiency standards. Improving the environmental performance of existing offices is therefore an important issue, and we are considering strengthening the policy safeguarding office accommodation to ensure refurbishment has been appropriately considered before change of use can be considered. In terms of industrial land, there's a limited supply of industrial premises in the city. About half is occupied by storage and distribution businesses. The sites and premises are largely fit for purpose. There's high demand and vacancy rates are very low. Through this study, there's a forecast requirement for around 57,000 square metres of industrial floor space to 2041. Meeting the forecast requirement for new industrial floor space will be challenging and will mean that we will need to continue to protect what we have and protect it for ongoing industrial uses. We need to encourage refurbishment and retrofit and seek opportunities when redevelopment opportunities arise to increase the industrial floor space on these sites. Limited development rights have impacted on our ability to protect all workspaces across the city. So we need to consider how we can address the loss of smaller, affordable, flexible workspaces. We are also seeking through this consultation, through the call for sites, to understand whether there are any suitable sites or areas of opportunities we should consider to deliver more affordable floor space. As well as the amount of space, we also need to ensure that new development delivers the right type of space for meeting our business needs. And to support a more circular economy, we need spaces suitable for recycling and repairing things and for industries in the green economy, which can help retrofit our homes or workplaces to improve their environmental performance. There is a shortage of move-on space within the city centre to support business growth. Space where businesses, the universities and public sector can come together to share knowledge, collaborate and innovate is also important. There's also a limited availability of affordable workspace. Rents for office and industrial premises are higher in the city than in neighbouring areas, and we know that some local businesses are leaving the city to find the space they need. And of course, this threatens the diversity and competitiveness of the city. So we want your views on how the city plan can encourage underused buildings and spaces, for example, the vacant retail units, to be used for alternative employment uses. How can we increase the supply of affordable and specialist workspace in the city? Should we specifically require, for example, employment space suitable for small, creative and start-up businesses to provide workspace on certain sites? Or should we require a proportion of new employment floor space to be affordable workspace, or seek financial contributions to provide managed affordable workspace? Or are there other ways that we could provide and secure affordable and specialist workspace? We are currently, I finished something on the previous slide. We currently require developers of major development proposals to provide employment and training initiatives, as well as financial contributions towards an established programme, the local employment scheme with local partnership. And we intend to continue to ask for contributions towards this local employment scheme. Moving on, as we know, we are a popular visitor destination. Visitors are attracted to the city, to the seafront and other natural assets like the National Park, as well as our historic buildings and heritage, the many cultural and sporting events the city hosts, our creative industries, and of course our thriving grassroots music scene and nighttime economy. The current city plan supports the ongoing regeneration of the seafront, replacement conference facilities at Brighton Centre, and allocate sites for new or replaced leisure uses, such as at the King Alfred or Black Rock. It also recognises the cultural and creative role of central Brighton. The current city plan also has policies for safeguarding cultural facilities and retail and leisure uses, and encourages meanwhile uses of temporarily vacant sites or buildings. The council will be preparing a creative destination plan to help inform the city plan, but we want to know from you what else the city plan can do to ensure that the city remains a popular destination and remains attractive to artists and creative entrepreneurs. We are asking for your views if there are opportunities not just in the heart of the city, but also how to better recognise the unique identity and cultural value of all our neighbourhoods. We also need to enhance our space to accommodate events and activities so that they are accessible to everyone and support wider cultural engagement and participation. We are a music city, and the city's nighttime economy is vital to our vibrant identity and attracts many visitors. We need to consider how planning policies can better support nighttime uses and ensure they continue to coexist with other uses in the city, how the operation of businesses can be protected when new residential development is proposed. We currently apply the agent of change principles, and we think we also need to recognise that some venues provide a wider role, acting as centres of support networks and communities for protected groups in the city, such as our LGBTQ+ community. The city has a wide mix of independent shops, boutiques and world-class restaurants, as well as well-known high street stores. The way we shop and use our city, town and local shopping centres has changed, and we need to find new ways of attracting people so they remain vibrant places with the right mix of uses. Our recently adopted shopping centre policy in the City Plan Part 2 reflect changes nationally, which allow a wider range of town centre uses in our retail use and encourage a wide range of town centre uses, to shops, restaurants, leisure uses, medical centres, creche and offices. In 2023, we introduced an Article 4 direction to remove a permitted development right to change shops and offices to residential use without planning permission, as we were concerned with the impact this could have on businesses and health of our centres. Part of the City Plan review, we will assess the health of our shopping centres and hierarchy of centres and their boundaries, and see if there will be any future demand for additional space. Of course, maintaining and supporting our unique built heritage and improving the appearance, function, safety and accessibility of our city streets and open spaces are also important components of supporting the city economy. And the Key Issues consultation document includes a chapter on design and placemaking. We also need to make sure that there are enough places for visitors to stay now and in the future. Previous research showed that the city's hotels are full on weekends during the peak holiday season and during conference months, and they often have to turn away potential guests. The city lacks some international hotel brands, which can help attract new business and keep the city competitive. Previous research also indicated there was a forecast demand for new hotel spaces in the city, but we know there are constrained options for new sites, particularly where new hotel operators wish to be, which is in central Brighton and across the seafront, an accessible location. So the Council's creative destination plan and an updated visitor accommodation study will inform the draft City Plan policy on new hotels and guest houses and our policy approach to protecting existing visitor accommodation. Short-term lets are popular with visitors, providing a flexible form of visitor accommodation and have helped the city's visitor economy to grow. However, there is currently no effective way to manage them. They often don't need planning permission and don't have to comply with all the same regulations as hotels or guest houses. And the use of residential homes for flats and flats for short-term lets can be inconvenient for neighbours, particularly where there are concentrations. We are concerned with the growing number of homes being used permanently as short-term lets in the city. In 2024, it was estimated that up to 45% of around 4,000 active short-term lets are entire homes. The Council is concerned with the impact that this is having on the availability and cost of homes. We are awaiting whether the government will introduce a mandatory national registration scheme for short-term lets and a new planning use class, which might help us better manage short-term lets. So we're asking your views on whether we should manage short-term lets and whether there are areas of the city where short-term lets are more appropriate. That's the end of the presentation, and I think we'll go to questions now.
Thanks, Helen. Yeah, I'll just encourage everyone to post those questions they have in the Q&A. We've actually only got one at the moment, and that is to do with Christmas decorations. So Christmas decorations stop at Waitrose on Western Road, and this does not encourage visitors to explore further towards Hove. How can we encourage spreading festive decorations and their benefits to smaller businesses not located in the centre?
Okay, thank you for that question. I think in terms of Christmas decorations in central Brighton, that is provided by the Business Improvement District, which is an organisation made up of the businesses represented within that defined area, and I think they pay and organise for the Christmas decorations. I'm aware there may be discussions underway to see if the Business Improvement District area would be extended, but it's not a planning policy matter.
Thanks. We'll give it a few more minutes in case anyone else has questions.
So just had a question or comment says that sounds like a sensible plan. The devil is in the detail. So the question is, when will we see further detail, especially for late night economy and grassroots?
Okay, well, I mean, obviously this is the start of the consultation. So we've identified the issues that we feel that the city plan review should consider and set out in the consultation document some ideas of how we might address that. But obviously we would like to hear your views on the issues and how you think we might best address it. We'll obviously look at best practice elsewhere, and then come towards the draft plan. There will be draft policies for everybody to have a look at again. So Claire set out the timetable for when that draft city plan will be prepared.
Thank you. So we've got another question. So what would be the approach to short-term lets? Should the government not introduce the C5 holiday lets use class?
Thank you. Well, currently, as you know, or may be aware, short-term lets are viewed as a residential use, so the same C3 use class. We have a policy in the City Plan Part 2 which seeks to protect residential uses, and if we consider that the intensity of the particular building for short-term let has changed it out of residential use, we can take enforcement action. Obviously, that's dealt with on a case-by-case basis, and we require information around the numbers of people and the sort of comings and goings and impacts on transport, etc. But that's the way that we currently assess short-term lets.
Thank you, Helen. So we have another question here. How much scope is there within the city plan to develop the nighttime economy policies, and who is likely to lead on the wider nighttime economy development?
Well, the City Plan 2041 consultation document does pose the question whether it would be helpful to have a nighttime economy policy to look at the how we can best balance the competing needs of businesses, live music venues and other nighttime economy activities with other uses in the city centre, and we're aware of the pressures that have been placed on some of these businesses with residential use increasing in the city centre. So the nighttime economy policy will look at that. We'll look at the agent of change principle, whether we can make that more prominent in a nighttime economy policy. And of course, because we recognise the relationship with tourism, with the relationship with environmental health and businesses. We will consult on a wide range of interests and colleagues within the council departments, of course, for that implementation of that policy.
Thanks, Helen. Another question. So the Hope and Ruin currently has 2 planning applications with no noise report submitted to turn offices into residential spaces. How are we going to protect our venues going forwards?
Thank you. No, I'm aware that this has been an increasing area of concern for our live music venues and grassroots music venues, and through the agent of change principle, which is reflected in the current city plan part 2 and reflects the national planning policy framework, we are able to ask the where there's development that's bringing about a change, that they consider the issue of noise appropriately and consider appropriate mitigation. So where there's a planning application where the agent of change is an issue, and if they haven't provided appropriate noise documentation studies, then the case officer would go back to that applicant and require it. And we make sure that colleagues in our culture and arts team are consulted on applications where there's a live music venue within 50 metres, so that on the robustness of the information that's been provided.
Thank you, Helen. Further question. Will the creation of LATs be encouraged?
That's not a planning policy matter or a matter for the city plan. That's a council issue around encouraging community groups, local action teams. So I'm sure if you consulted with our communities team, they would be able to provide you more information about that.
Thank you. So I've got a further question or further comment. As a business owner with capital to invest across multiple cities, I really need to have clarity on the timelines for more detailed plans. Otherwise, Brighton will be left behind. So the ongoing timelines that are nailed down are really important for investment, sometimes taking 12 to 18 months to realise. So it's great that we have a vision, and concrete timelines are vital. So if we can agree and circulate as soon as possible, it's important, as they're currently looking at 2027 to 2028 investment.
Okay, thank you for that question. Well, we've set out the timeline to prepare the city plan review. So I hope that gives you clarity on when you can expect the next detailed conversation on the city plan. And that will include draft policies and site allocations. I've mentioned the economic plan that was launched recently. So that gives you the sort of 10-year perspective that the council has prepared in terms of the economic growth opportunities, investment priorities. So I'd encourage you to have a look at that plan as well.
Thanks, Helen. Another question for you. So the recent economic plan talks about inward investment as a key opportunity, and that Brighton and Hove is the most desirable city for inward investment outside of London. However, the same plan admits there is no inward investment service for potential investors and businesses. Is this something that can be built into the city plan?
Thank you for that question. Well, I think the action plan that went with the economic plan does talk about how to set up that investment service for the city, and so that would be the best place in terms of driving that forward. But of course, the city plan, in allocating sufficient sites and premises for employment growth over the plan period, has that role to play in ensuring there's appropriate sites for inward investment opportunity.
So we don't have any more questions at the moment in the Q&A. I don't know if anyone wants to ask anything else. Please put your question in as soon as you can. So Helen and the team can address it. Thanks.
Okay. Oh, it looks like there's one last one.
Hang on. Oh, yeah. So the next question. Have you engaged with local businesses on the affordable workspace policy yet? If so, how has this informed your approach? Have you encountered any viability concerns from developers?
Thank you. That's a great question. So this is the first stage of engagement through the city plan on the potential for an affordable workspace policy. So obviously the comments that we receive back will help inform our approach. And we do know that if we were looking to have a policy that talked about an amount of space or a financial contribution, that we would need to test that in terms of the viability of, and so that would need to be done as part of the plan preparation.
Thank you, Helen. I just wondered, has anyone else got any more questions? If you'd like to put them in the Q&A, that would be really helpful. We can read them out. Any more questions for any more? Well, in the absence of any more questions, perhaps we could say thank you very much to everybody for attending, and thank you very much to Helen for answering all the questions. This webinar will go up on our YouTube channel, Council's YouTube channel. It will have any identifying information taken out of it, so your names, etc., won't be shown. But yeah, thank you very much for attending, and please don't forget to put all your views into our consultation portal on your voice and have your say. Thank you very much. Thank you.